One of the bigger challenges you're going to face as a solo shooter is how do I get the multi-camera look when I've only got one camera? This challenge actually becomes a lot more complicated when you start thinking about your primary shooting and editing device being a cell phone. It's not insurmountable though, and there's a couple ways you can do it. The first way to do it is actually really easy, and it's just looking at your script and planning it out. When do you want the different shots to happen? And then you essentially film the whole thing a couple of ways, and you bounce back and forth between the two angles you shot in your edit, which is kind of what I've been doing here, right? I've just been moving the camera back and forth. If you're in an interview, though, something that is a little less scripted, this becomes more challenging. It's not impossible, but it is a little harder to do. The first thing you want to do is you want to take control of your setting, your location. You want to make sure you're shooting somewhere that is easy for your phone's camera to shoot. That means lots of light. It can be outside, that's totally fine, but just be aware that if you go on too long, what'll happen is the light will change, you may have to move. Try and keep this to shorter segments if you're doing it this way. Then what you'll want to do is you'll want to up your phone's record setting to its highest resolution possible. If you're in Filmic Pro, how you do that is you click the little gear down at the bottom, the little settings cog, you go to resolution and up that to 4K, or 1080p if your phone can't do 4K, but most phones do 4K now. Once you've got your phone set to the highest resolution, I was 1080 before, now I'm 4K, you just do your interview as you normally would. Just have them carry on the conversation with you. If they're looking off camera, make sure and have them thirded up properly with the lead room in the direction they're looking. If they're talking directly to the camera, make sure they're looking at the camera. Just go through it like you normally would. We're going to change our look in post. So let's go ahead and get into CapCut and let me show you how to do this. First thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that even though our footage is 4K, we want to make sure that our output setting is 1080p. If you weren't able to record in 4K, you're going to want to set your output to 720 so that you still have the lower resolution that you shot at. I will say right now that if you're doing a 720 project, it's going to look a little grainier on larger format screens, but we're working with what we got here, trying to go with the free option, trying to make sure this just keeps going as easily as possible. Once you've got your formatting set the way you want it, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to want to find the section of your interview or sections of your interview that you want to be your secondary shot. And then what you're going to do is you're going to use the split tool and just separate that portion of the clip from the rest of the main timeline. Once you've done that, what you're going to do is you're simply going to scale it up and reposition it so that now it appears to be a different angle. Now I have to caution you here, you can go too big, you can make your stuff look grainy, but the benefit of working at a higher resolution and then editing at a lower resolution means that you have a little more wiggle room here. And basically you just go through and you find these spots and you trim and resize and reposition, and it winds up working out really well. If you think about it as you're going through and you sort of time it out appropriately, this is a really easy way to get the two-camera look while only using one camera, using nothing but your cell phone. Filmic Pro is your filming device, and CapCut as your editing device. Let's go. Keep shooting.